The controversial Senate interrogator joins us now from Canberra. Senator Gerard Rennick, welcome to ADH TV.
Hi Chris, how are you going?
I'm doing very well. It has been on the cards for a little under a year. Is it a relief for you to cut those ties, or are you dirty about the fact that they didn't basically want you in the party?
No, Chris, if anything, it's actually a disappointment. It was a very hard decision to come to, and my preference would have been to stay in the party and try and change, try and change things from within the tent. And I wouldn't have become a senator if it wasn't for the fantastic effort of so many volunteers in the LNP. However, I do hold the view that state council didn't represent the views of the members. I also hold the view, and I went to court about, I went to court about the definition of reasonable time, because the state executive created this clause called reasonable time that said I didn't appeal the decision of the disputes committee in a reasonable time. And the reason why I went to the disputes committee was that Peter Dutton asked for a vote because he couldn't be at the Senate pre-selection on the day. He wanted what they called a proxy or representative. He was told he couldn't have one. And he asked for that before the registration cut-off date. And then the day before the pre-selection, which was after the registration cut-off date, head office decided to give David Littleproud and Adrian Schrinner a vote on the pre-selection, and they voted against me. And they didn't tell Peter Dutton that they changed the rules. And, when Peter found out about that, he was understandably very annoyed, asked them to go back and do it properly, and they refused to do it.
Wow. Does that mean that you and Peter Dutton are still on a reasonable level here, or is this a vote against him?
Absolutely not. It's not a vote against Peter at all. As I said, it's disappointing to leave because, yet again, in that Senate pre-selection, the majority of my federal colleagues voted for me. It was the state and Brisbane City Council councillors that voted against me, the majority of them. And, given that Peter Dutton had endorsed me, the state members should have backed Peter Dutton. But as we saw with the nuclear decision, Christofouli wouldn't back Peter on nuclear. Christofouli backed the treaty last year against the wishes of the membership, and then last year at convention, the same convention, I lost my vote. Basically, Lawrence Springborg and David Christofouli shut down any debate over the treaty. And this is something that's really annoying the members of the LNP. I mean, they go out and volunteer their time to get people elected, to get into Parliament, and then those members of Parliament won't go and fight for the values of the LNP. Now, that's more so at the state level. Most of my colleagues at the federal level are very good at fighting for the values. And that again happened this year, where all debate about nuclear, net zero, or anything like that was completely shut down. Members go away from the convention. Sorry, go on.
Do you think that the LNP in Queensland is being hijacked by more Labor-light kind of approaches to conservative politics?
Look, the party, so there's two wings to the party. There's what I call the grassroots membership, and then there's the careerists, right? The careerists will do whatever it takes to keep their jobs. And often that means that they don't uphold the values of the party. The majority of the people in the LNP are very good people. There'd be no difference between them and members of One Nation or UAP or whatever. But the careerists within the party, in my view, and the LNP until recently has always been more dominated by genuine grassroots members. I think it's fair to say that Queensland LNP has always been a much more grassroots party than what the New South Wales Liberal Party was, and I know that because I was in the New South Wales Liberal Party for about 6 years, back in between 2007, late 2007 and early 2013. But it has changed, and that basically, in my view, is because of the poor leadership under Lawrence Springborg. And I know I'm not alone when I'm speaking for members of the LNP to say that Lawrence has done a very poor job as president. But can I just say that's all behind me now. I was left with no choice if I wanted to run again and fight for the values of the Australian people so that they can get a better life. If I wanted to run again, I had to leave the party to run as an independent.
So, Gerard, what were the major policy stances that you took that riled the majority of members in that LNP? Was it climate change? Was it COVID-19?
The majority of state councillors, Chris. So there's state councillors, they're the ones that voted for me. So there were 260-odd state councillors. There's 10,000 members of the LNP. Mm-hmm. If the members that have voted Senate pre-selection-wise, there was a good chance I'd still be in the LNP today.
So what did the councillors not like about you?
Well, look, I guess COVID, my view on COVID, a lot of people think that I betrayed the party by withholding my vote. I would argue that the ministers betrayed the party by not upholding the values of the party, in particular Greg Hunt. I think I've said before that, I was sympathetic to what Scott Morrison had to do for the first year and a bit. But that last 6 months when the Premier's got out of control, Scott as the Prime Minister really needed to rein them in. And Greg Hunt as the Health Minister needed to uphold his fiduciary responsibilities and lean on the TGA to look into those vaccine injuries rather than sweep it under the carpet.
Well, exactly, because every mainstream major study done on COVID vaccines since the pandemic only supports your case, not the support of those who stood so, loyally behind the vaccines.
Yeah. And look, it's... I can understand why people, and we discussed this last time, why people believe that vaccines were going to work because, not everyone's a biochemist, right? I mean, if and you trust your health authorities, you don't necessarily trust politicians, but most people in the main probably trusted health authorities and they assumed that even if it wasn't going to work 100% effectively, that at the very least it was at least going to be safe.
Sure. And
the politicians have done such a good sell job on scaring the death out of everyone about COVID. I can understand why people, and that's why I had to take a drastic action because I could see, because I just got bombarded with people with vaccine injuries very quickly after I posted a few posts, that something needed to be done urgently. It's not like some issues you've got time and people aren't going to, suddenly end up crippled or dead or out of a job. This was a matter of life and death and having a job and no job, which is why I had to, react so strongly. And anyway, but look, that's all behind me. I don't regret taking that stand. And as I said in the chamber the other day, I'll always put the people first because I'm passionate about protecting the Australian people and making sure they have a better life.
Okay, let's look ahead. Will this free you up in the Senate to vote strictly for what Gerard Rennick believes, or will you stick to the LNP line?
Well, look, to be honest, Chris, I've always pretty much voted for what I strictly believed in. There might have been a few times I sucked it up and voted with the party. But look, I will vote for what I believe in. But it's probably fair to say that 95% of the time, 98% of the time, I'll be voting with the LNP. I did cross the floor a couple of weeks ago on online gambling. I'd love that to be banned completely. But in the main, I can't see why I wouldn't vote with the LNP most of the time. But look, there may be the odd issue that comes out, but that I disagree with, but it won't be. I can't foresee a lot. And look, I think Peter Dutton's done a fantastic job in getting the coalition back into a winning position.
Yep.
And I know Peter's he kicks with his right foot. He's his instincts are to the right. And I think he'll make a great Prime Minister if he gets in.
So your party will be known as the People First Party, which will raise bread and butter issues like what?
Okay, so I've got 5 policies, and once I get through the paperwork, just to be clear, the reason why I'm setting up a party is because I need to be above the line on the Senate ticket in order to increase my likelihood of getting re-elected.
Sure.
So back in 2016, the rules for voting on the Senate ticket changed. They created a divide on the Senate ticket above the line and below the line. If I didn't sign up to a party or get into a party or create a party, my name would be one of, say, 300 below the line, and you'd have to vote 1 to 24 below. I think it's off the top of my head, sorry. I could be wrong about it. It might be 1 to 12 or 1 to 24 below the line. Now, if you're above the line, you might be 1 out of 20 parties, so you've got greater visibility.
Of course.
At the same time, I didn't have to, but I decided to put my name with the party because I really wanted to be an independent, because I'm already copying it for not joining One Nation or not joining the Libertarian Party. And I knew whichever way I went, the other minor parties, would not necessarily be happy. So I've created the party, but what I really want to do for the next 8 months, whether or not I get up, it's a long shot, but what I do want to do in the next 8 to 10 months is go back to the original reason why I ran for politics, which was to raise issues about taxation, monetary policy and efficiencies in the government. Mm-hmm. So my background, I've got a Masters of Commerce, a Masters of Tax Law and a Masters of Finance. There's a lot of sections in the Tax Act that need reforming. We don't use enough levers with our monetary policy. I explained a bit of that last time I spoke to you. There's things like, so for example, I've put out 5 policies that I want to push. One is to lift the tax-free threshold to $40,000. I've always thought it's unfair that if businesses can get a tax deduction for the cost of doing business, why can't workers get a tax deduction for the cost of living?
Yeah.
And that would immediately put about $3,000 into the pockets of low-income earners. And one of the things that people don't realise is Treasury doesn't model secondary impacts or the velocity of money. Mm-hmm. Now, that matters when you're giving income tax cuts, because an income tax cut to a low-income earner, most of that will end up back in Treasury coffers through increased GST, company tax, increased employment in the next 12 months versus a tax cut for someone on the high tax threshold, which I'm happy to lower tax rates there as well, because I hate income tax. The lower the income tax rates, the better. So, and I want to pay for that basically by getting rid of the Environment Department in Canberra. We don't need 2 departments in Canberra.
Of course we don't.
Renewables.
We don't need it at all. Ridiculous. I don't know why they invented the second one.
Yeah, so get rid of the Environment Department, get rid of subsidies for renewables, means tested defined benefit scheme. There was some reports in the media last week how David Anderson, the guy who just quit the ABC, will be getting about $400,000 a year until he retires. There are billions of dollars. That needs to be means tested. It is just a largesse, rivers of gold for a small number of retired white-collar bureaucrats. So that's how I intend to pay for those tax cuts. I want to get childcare going straight to the parents. I want to give them greater choice and empower the family as to how they raise their children. You've got millions of shift workers in this country who can't pick their child up at 6 o'clock. You've got policemen, nurses, hospitality workers, taxi drivers, truck drivers who work past 6 o'clock at night. They don't have access to childcare. They can't put their child into an institutionalised childcare centre. So I want to give them greater flexibility as to how they can have a nanny to come to their house, for example. Part-time workers might only work 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day. Why are they paying for 12 hours childcare? Yeah. Fly in, fly out workers, you're on the mines for 7 to 10 days and then you come home. Why are you paying for childcare when you're at home with your child? Why would you want to put him in childcare if you've got a couple of days off with you? That's your weekend. Why pay for childcare if you're not using it? Yeah. So, and then you've got farmers, they can't get access to childcare either, and many of them would actually need a nanny. They would prefer a nanny on the homestead to look after their children. So I want and that should be just about revenue neutral, because all we're doing is transferring the payment to the parents, not the childcare centres. Yes. And what that would do would actually reduce demand on the childcare centres, which should reduce costs as well, because not as many people would need those services. It's like you're funneling all these children through the little narrow bottleneck of institutionalised childcare rather than having a much broader range of options 24 hours a day across all the regions. The third thing is I want to make superannuation voluntary. Superannuation is nothing but glorified communism. We now have $3 trillion in consolidated wealth controlled by about 20 superannuation funds in this country, of which a large number of industry funds. And all those industry funds put their vote together with one proxy advisor at AGMs and control over 20% of most blue chip companies on the ASX. So now we've got, basically productivity, our industry. If you control $3 trillion in capital, you control industry. And when you're controlling industry by the woke people and the unions, you've now got your industry being driven by ideology and not productivity. So we need to actually, and the other thing is, there's still 50% of retirees today are on a full pension, the same number as what there was in 1992. Superannuation has done nothing to get low-income earners or retirees off the pension. They've shifted the part pensioners from 27%, so this is on top of 50, so it's come down from 77 to 71, but half of that drop, that 6% drop, was when Morrison changed the indexation laws in 2016 election. So superannuation has barely touched the sides on getting people off the pension, but it's worth $50 billion in tax concessions for the upper, mainly 25%, but the pension costs about $54 billion, and that goes out to 50% of people on low incomes plus the 21% on the part pension as well. So very ineffective, and then plus there's $30 billion in fees to shuffle paper and basically for the glorified white-collar executives in those ivory palaces in Sydney and Melbourne.
What you're standing up for in terms of childcare and also superannuation makes a great deal of common sense, and people should unpack what you are going to say. in front of the banner of your new party and consider it very carefully. Can I ask you this, just back to the politics of it? The Libertarian Party in particular are angry with you because they wanted you to join them, not form your own party. Why didn't you do that?
Look, I mean, I'd like to be an independent, really, even though I accept that there does need to be a merger. And if I did get back in a long shot, I would certainly work on working with some minor parties, but I don't have a lot of time between now. I didn't know when the next election was going to be called. But look, my one problem with the Libertarians is that they're neoliberals. So I'm a protectionist, and I've always criticised the neoliberals within the Liberal Party. So the neoliberals in the 80s, this reckless neoliberal ideology, basically believed in privatising all our infrastructure. And they basically let the markets rip in the 1980s. Well, guess what? When we took our hands off the reins of power, i.e. the protectionists, the communists and Marxists couldn't believe how lucky they were. And they said, well, if you're not going to take the reins of power, we will. They then decided to let manufacturing go offshore with the Button plan. They then brought in the Dawkins plan where they sent everyone to university to get brainwashed and broke. They introduced communism, and Howard Costello went along with this too in 96, I might add. They should have kiboshed superannuation then. New Zealand had a referendum on compulsory superannuation and they voted against it 92% to 8%. Do you think if Paul Keating went to an election in 1992 and said by 2025 you want 12% of your income taken from you and given to someone you'd never met and you might get it back when you're 67, do you think people would have voted for it?
No.
Don't think so. So they've got this, they believe in free markets. I don't believe in free markets for the same reasons I don't believe in fairies in the bottom of the rose garden. It doesn't exist. There's only two outcomes in a market. You're either making money or you're losing money.
That is pretty emphatic. That is pretty emphatic. I'm sure John Ruddick is watching this and understands now where you're standing.
And John, if you're listening, I'm more than happy to debate you over neoliberal ideology and why protectionism is the path to salvation, not neoliberalism.
Well, let's do that debate right here, Gerard. Let's do that debate right here.
Yeah. Because let me tell you, I want to protect the individual and the families from the unrestrained authorities of the institutions.
Okay.
Right? Because true capitalism are the individuals who risk their own capital. I'm not sure if you're familiar with agency theory, but once you give it to another agency, like a bureaucrat or a banker or a superannuation fund or a corporate executive or a union, you've got other people managing your money. Right. And that's not capitalism, that's socialism, as defined by Margaret Thatcher. Socialism's a lot of fun when you're spending someone else's money. And all these other people spending our money or your taxpayers' money, and I'm one of them because I'm working for you, the taxpayer, we've got to be accountable and transparent to you, and we have to serve you, the people.
One last question. The departure from the LNP. What does this episode teach you about political loyalty, Gerard?
Well, look, I mean, my loyalty to the values are always the same, and I've said that to a lot of members. Obviously, I'm still friends with a lot of members, and they will support me. They'll vote for me on the Senate. And I said, look, I just want you to know my values are the same, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, a political party is a means to an end to upholding those values that made this country great. Look, I spent a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a court case to make sure to try and get that executive to stick to the rules of the Constitution. They bent the rules. And so, I did everything I could to try and do the right thing by the party. They've been, unbeknownst to me, and I mean, I don't want to go dwelling on this, it's history now, but look, my loyalty is to, politics is a means to an end as well, and that is to serve the people. And that's why I call the party, and I've got to get this approved by the AEST, no complaints, the people first, because that is what it is all about. People first, party second.
Senator Gerard Rennick, thank you so much for your time and good luck with the People First Party.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.
Much appreciated. Thank you for your time, Senator Gerard Rennick. And there is a debate. He's offered a debate with John Ruddick. We'll talk to John right after the break, as a matter of fact, when he unpacks the news of the day, right here on ADH TV.